Hello there, and welcome back to the second video in our series on how to play the ukulele. In our first video, we recapped the basics of a ukulele, kind of what they are, what the different strings are, and how to hold it. In this video, we're going to recap some of that information to make sure it stays nice and fresh in our minds, and we're going to move on to how to tune the ukulele. So we'll start off with our quick recap. We've got three main sections on the ukulele and 4 strings. What I want to do is I would like you to pause the video now and make a quick note on what the 3 different parts of the ukulele are and what all 4 of those strings are. If you want a hint, we talked about a couple of sentences you could use to remember the order of each string in the last lesson. Okay, welcome back. So we'll start off with the 3 different parts of the ukulele. And well done to you if you remember to think of it like a giraffe. We've got the head at the top, we've got a small head, a really long middle section here called the neck, and then this big section at the bottom called the body. So we've got the head, the neck, and the body. We're going to move on to the 4 strings on the ukulele and which note each of those strings are specifically tuned at. So we start off with G, C, then E, and then finally A. Earlier on in the video, I referred to 2 sentences that we covered last lesson that you could use to remember the order of the strings. The first one of those was good cows eat apples. So G, C, E, A. And our second sentence, one I'm hoping the Pokemon fans in the class remember, gotta catch all. So when tuning the ukulele, it's always really important to have a reference of what you want it to sound like. And so what I've got here is an in-tune ukulele, and so this is what you're aiming for. So now, I'm going to put this down, and grab this ukulele here, which I know for a fact is out of tune. Let's test that theory out. That sounds pretty out of tune. And so what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you the steps you need to take this sound to the in-tune sound you heard earlier. And in order to do that, we're going to use a brilliant little device called a tuner, and that's spelled T-U-N-E-R. Okay, so the first step to tuning our ukuleles effectively is understanding what the tuner is and what each of these different bits do on the display. So to start off, you've got 4 dots, 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom, and they are labelled accordingly to each string on the ukulele. So you've got G, C, E, and A. And so they light up based on which string you're currently tuning. So if you're tuning the G, you want to make sure that the G there is currently lit up. And then the second part to this is you've got this longer bar that goes across the middle, and that tells you how close your string is to being perfectly in tune. You'll have a big green light in the middle there. If that's the light that's showing, that means you're good. That means your string is ready to go. But then you'll have a series of red lights either side of that. If it's on this side, that means it's too high. And if it's on that side, it means it's too low. And you can use that to determine how far away you are, either high or low, from being in tune. Now, let's test this in action. So we're going to start off by turning the tuner on, and to do that, you lift this screen up, look on the back, you've got a little black button, and you'll see that it's now lit up on the display. So let's attach it to our ukulele. So we're going to get this back. On the head of the ukulele, we're going to clip it on like that, and you can adjust the screen so you can see it nice and clearly. Okay, so when we're tuning it, this is really the only time you should be touching the tuning pegs that you find on the head of the ukulele. And in order to know which tuning peg works for each string, it's really easy. You find the string you want to tune. So if I wanted to start on G, I put my finger on it and just follow it all the way up, past that onto the head, and I can see that it feeds in to this tuner here. So we'll start off with G, play it. You can see that G is lighting up, which is good, it means we're not too far away. And we're going to keep playing so we can get a continuous idea of how we're doing in terms of tuning. Currently, the red light is flashing quite far away from the middle, in this direction, meaning it's too low. So we turn the tuning peg very gently, counterclockwise, till it gets higher and higher. And I can't emphasize that enough. Nice, gentle, slow movements while playing the string the entire time. Until eventually it goes back to green. Now, let's move on to our next string, which is C. So we start off by finding out which tuning peg we need. So we follow the C string all the way up onto the head to this tuning peg here. And then we start by playing the string. With this one, the C isn't even lighting up, which means it's quite far away. Because the light's there, we know it's too low, so we need to keep making the note higher and higher until eventually you'll see that the C has now started lighting up. Still too low though, so we keep playing the string, keep gently turning it until it goes to green. And then what I like to do, this is a little tip, once I've tuned a string, I always like to go back and check the ones I've tuned before, just to see how they're doing. So if we go back to G, still doing nicely. And there's C. Then we move on to E. So again, we follow that all the way up, past the head. We see that's this tuning peg here. With this one, C is lighting up again, which means it's really low if it's lighting up for the string before it. So we're going to keep turning. E is now lit up, which is a good sign. Closer. These tuners can be quite sensitive, so if you see it jumping about, don't worry, that's quite normal. And eventually, with nice gentle turns, we'll get to E. And then again, we check the ones we've done before. So G, it's just getting a little low, so we'll turn that a little bit more. Same thing with C. Go. And finally, we have A. We can follow that one up, but we also know, because we've done all the other tuning pegs already, that it'll be this one right here. So we're too low again. All four of these have been too low so far. So often, it's most common that the strings on the ukulele will go flat over time, meaning they'll get too low. And that's why in this case, all the strings were too low. It's much less common for them to get too high, which would be going sharp. Just generally, you'll find that the strings are too low, too flat when you first pull it out of the box. So let's get back to A. We're going to turn it nice and gently. Too much. There we go. Green and in the middle. Let's test the other ones again. E, and A. And now I'm going to play through each of these strings and you'll hear they sound like our reference from earlier. That's an in-tune ukulele. The final step, you've got to remember to turn the tuner off. We want to save that battery. We can unclip it from the head of the ukulele and pass it to the next person. Okay, thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next video.